I pulled into the gravel driveway of my family's lakeside cabin for the first time in nearly a year, a mix of nostalgia and peace washing over me. The trees were swaying gently in the breeze, the lake shimmered under the morning sun, and I was ready to spend the weekend disconnecting from the chaos of city life. But I hadn't even unpacked my bag before the peace shattered because of her. You know the type, clipboard in hand, oversized sunglasses, the permanent scowl of someone who's never happy unless they're in charge. Locals call her HOA Karen. I just call her the beginning of a storm I never saw coming. The cabin had been in my family for decades, long before any homeowners association existed. It sat nestled at the end of a private road on land my grandfather purchased outright in the 1960s. No fees, no rules, just peace. At least until HOA Karen showed up 5 years ago and somehow convinced a few neighbors to band together and form an HOA. And despite several of us rejecting her efforts, she forged ahead, sending out notices, rules, and eventually bogus dues demands. But I ignored it, because legally she had no jurisdiction over my cabin. Still, the woman was persistent. When I arrived, she was already across the gravel road, watching me like a hawk. Within minutes of me stepping onto my porch, she stomped over. "Excuse me," she barked without even a greeting. "You can't just show up unannounced like this. We have protocols now. New vehicle permits, noise ordinances, landscaping expectations." I blinked at her, stunned. "Karen, this is my cabin. I'm not part of your HOA. I never signed anything. You have no authority here." She gasped like I just spit in her herbal tea. "That's not how this works. The HOA covers this entire road. I'll be documenting this, and if you refuse to comply, I'll escalate it. We have rules for a reason." I laughed and shook my head. "Document all you want. This property is deeded as private. Your HOA can't touch it." What happened next was so absurd, I couldn't make it up if I tried. Karen pulled out her phone and called 911, claiming I was trespassing on association land and refusing to leave. I stood there dumbfounded, watching her give my address to emergency dispatch while insisting that I be removed from my own property. "Ma'am," I heard the dispatcher say on speakerphone, "are you saying the owner of the cabin is refusing to leave his property?" "He says he's the owner," Karen hissed, shielding the phone from me. "But he hasn't paid any HOA dues in years. He shouldn't be here." I couldn't help it. I laughed right out loud. 6 minutes later, a sheriff's deputy rolled up. The look on his face said it all. He was already tired of Karen's antics. I approached him calmly and handed him my license and property deed, which I always keep a copy of in my cabin safe. The deputy reviewed the paperwork, glanced at Karen, then turned back to me. "You're good," he said simply. "This is your property, clearly. So we remarkable motivative ulcit. This is the third false report this season." Karen exploded, "But he's breaking rules. The garbage bins are out of regulation. His deck hasn't been stained in 2 years. The deputy sighed and walked back to his cruiser. Karen was fuming, spitting threats about legal action and code violations as she stomped back across the road. I could have left it there. I really could have. But something inside me snapped. She called the cops on me, on my land. I wasn't going to just let this go anymore. What Karen didn't know was that in the months leading up to my return, I had been quietly researching her HOA's formation. Turns out, Karen had filed the HOA charter with forged signatures from several supposed members, including a neighbor who had passed away 2 years prior. She had also been collecting dues and issuing fines without any legal foundation. I hadn't acted before because I wanted to enjoy my cabin in peace. But now, she made it personal. That night, I pulled out my laptop and uploaded every bit of evidence I had. Photos, forged documents, a copy of my deed, even audio of Karen threatening other neighbors into compliance. I then called my attorney, who happened to specialize in HOA law and property rights. He'd been itching for a case like this. Within a week, we filed a formal complaint with the county. 2 weeks later, we had a court date. Karen was served papers at the community meeting where she had just fined someone $150 for watering their lawn too loudly. Word spread like wildfire. When the hearing began, the courtroom was packed. Nearly every neighbor who'd been bullied by Karen came to watch. Some even testified about her intimidation tactics and how she pressured them to pay fake fines under threat of liens, which she had no authority to issue. My lawyer stood confidently before the judge and laid out everything. The forged charter signatures, the harassment, the fraudulent fines, the false police report. But it was when we played the 911 call for the courtroom that Karen's fate was sealed. The judge leaned back, lips pursed, and said, "Mrs. Harmon, do you understand that this HOA you've been enforcing doesn't legally exist?" Karen stammered. But everyone agreed. "No," the judge interrupted. "They didn't. You forged documents. You threatened residents. You misused emergency services. And you attempted to seize control of properties that were never under your jurisdiction." The ruling was swift. The HOA was immediately dissolved. Karen was fined $10,000 for falsifying legal documents and another $5,000 in penalties for harassment and misuse of county resources. She was also hit with a civil suit from two other neighbors. And just like that, the reign of HOA Karen was over. But the best part? The court required Karen to send written apologies to every single homeowner she had tried to fine, threaten, or intimidate, including me. I got mine in the mail a week later, typed in shaky Times New Roman, with the most reluctant "I'm sorry for the confusion and distress I may have caused" you've ever seen. As for the community, we've been rebuilding ever since, without her. We've organized informal potlucks, volunteer cleanup days, and lakefront movie nights. No rules, no fines, just neighbors actually being neighbors again. Karen put her house up for sale shortly after. Rumor is she tried to start another HOA in the new neighborhood, but this time someone beat her to it, with a clause that explicitly bans her from holding any board position, ever. I still visit my lakeside cabin every few weeks. It's peaceful again. The breeze is just as soft, the water just as blue, but now there's an extra layer of serenity, because every time I sit on my porch, I remember that sometimes standing up for yourself isn't just about you. It's about reminding every entitled Karen out there that power doesn't come from clipboards and threats. It comes from truth and the will to fight back. And in my case, it only took 6 minutes for justice to start rolling.